We didn't talk about the temperament.
We didn't talk about the temperament.
Okay.
We do the old sheet.
Yeah, you people.
After recording, you made me a co-host.
So who has the recording?
I have it.
Andrew, eh?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll make you a co-host straight away so that. All right. So 1 minute. Okay, Andrew, so you are a co-host as you are aware, and so do handle your colleagues who we want to describe the class. All right, so I want us to quickly go back. As you said, we got to the big five. Did we discuss the big five in workplace behaviors, or we didn't at all?
We did.
Please wait.
Yeah, we did. We got to the extroverts tend to have high salaries.
Oh, okay. So I can see, Naomi's hand is up, and I remember why. Naomi, your question, isn't it?
Yes, you said I should remind you that you will talk more about the last point because we're going to talk about it. Said to remind you.
So what was the last point?
That extroverts tend to have higher salaries,
Exactly.
more promotion. Yes, please.
Exactly. Good. Thanks very much. So, what I was thinking was right. Now, so when we got to, we went through the big five, and then we said that the essence of the big five is to be able to apply those principles within the work environment. But when you understand people's temperaments, it helps you to be able to allocate the right kind of work for these individuals to do. And I kept on emphasizing the importance of this within organizational setting, because when people are given works or jobs which are not in line with how they have been wired, they struggle with it. And in actual fact, it also does cause stress. It does cause stress to people. So it's in the interest of organizations to take the pains to understand people that they hire and to ensure that when these individuals are brought in, their job roles are well defined so that they'll be able to discharge their duties effectively. Now, we then spoke a bit about the salaries. Extroverts tend to have higher salaries, they receive more promotions, and are more satisfied with their careers. Let me just, because of time, let me just catch up, and then when I stabilize, I will know, and then we can change the approach a little bit. Normally we want us to discuss it, but let me explain. One thing about extroverts is that they indeed do have higher salaries, in the sense that they are the people who, when you don't pay them, even when you are paying them enough, they will still come and ask for more. Extroverts are not afraid to ask. So you can be doing the same job with an introvert, and the extrovert may be taking much more, especially in organizations where structures are not duly followed. When it comes to salary, salaries that people have, we have some job points. It's a range where, depending on where you are, you get more or less. So you can have maybe 3 or 4 points within the same range. And you can have an instance where you are an officer as your colleague officer, and that officer may be on point 1 and an extrovert may be on point 3. And it's purely because of the fact that the extroverts make their presence felt. It does not mean that they are working much more than the introverts. The long and short is that they will ask for it if you don't even give them. They will walk into your office, can I have a word with you, boss? And they will tell you that, well, I just realized that the market rate is not how much I'm paid. And I've been working very hard. As you know, I've been discharging my duties. And an introvert may be even doing much more than this. But introverts, by their nature, may not say anything, and therefore they end up sometimes losing out. When it comes to promotions, also, extroverts will ask for it. They can walk into your office and even start to warm you up to the thought that they have been working very hard and they really are very hopeful that by the end of the year they will be promoted. you know. So the kind of personality that they have pushes them towards these kind of benefits where they do make such demands, even when they are not supposed to make it sometimes. And then they can also be more satisfied with their careers because extroverts are quite happy to leave the job if they are not happy with it. You know, if they're not satisfied with it, they can leave the job without even getting another one. You'll be there with the person the next morning, lying down, not going to work, say, well, I've stopped. When did you stop? I stopped yesterday. Why? I don't like it. Do you have another job? No, I don't have another job. These are typical extroverts. So because they have that tendency, they are likely to keep on moving till they find what they want. You see? So that is the reason why they are likely to be more satisfied with their careers than the introverts. The introverts have the tendency to just hang in there, even though they don't like it, they just hang in there. You know, they tend to be laid back, and if it becomes problematic for them to even take the next step to go and look for a job, which the extroverts will not struggle with. So these are some of the reasons why extroverts tend to have higher salaries, they have more promotions, and they are more satisfied with their careers because they will move in the direction of what they believe is what they want to pursue. They are not afraid to say that enough is enough, let me just move on and go and do something else. They are not afraid. Introverts do hold on to things much longer, and it will take sometimes an extra force to push them from where they are to move, to take another step. So these are some of the factors or reasons why extroverts have higher salaries, they receive more promotions, and they are more satisfied with their careers. Again, these things are pretty straightforward. So let me just push to a point, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. There's also this slide that talks about the fact that in work teams, watch this very carefully. When you are forming a work team, and you have minimal levels of agreeableness in the team, as well as mean levels of consensuousness and openness to experience, which means that mean levels of consensuousness and mean levels of openness to experience, because they are joined together there, they have a strong effect on overall team performance. So what it's basically saying to you that there are three very important ingredients in the formation of teams: agreeableness, consensuousness, and openness to experience. Agreeableness, consensuousness, and openness to experience. It means that when you are forming a team as a manager, you need to understand your workers. You need to understand your workers. And those in the field of HR, I mean, you cannot be forgiven because these are the kind of things that lies within your space. So naturally, you appreciate it, and you certainly will have to appreciate it more and move more in that direction. But this is an MBA program, and everybody on the program is a manager or a potential manager in one way or the other. So we all need to understand this very well, that when you are composing teams, you certainly need an agreeable person on the team. And this is the reason why when you do the assessments that we've been talking about, the demographic and hydrographic assessment tools, it helps us to be able to identify the various individuals that we are bringing into the organization. We will know the ones who are agreeable, we will know the ones that are not so agreeable, we will know the consensuous ones, we know the ones who are not consensuous. And indeed, if the selection of the individuals into the organization has been based on these assessment tools largely, obviously matching it to the job to be done, we are likely to hire the right kind of people to work for us. Because we will have the information before us, and our decisions will be based on the information that we have. So if you certainly need a lot more consensuous individuals or people who are scoring high on consensuousness, then you can see from the assessment. And as I mentioned to you, these tools are there, and it's some other people's bread and butter. That is what they do for a living, especially those in the field of psychology, industrial psychology to be specific. There are tools there to assess these kind of factors that we are touching on. So let's come back to this. You need somebody who has the minimum agreeableness. You need consensuous people. You need open-minded people on the team. So again, for the sake of time, let me just explain. If you have 5 individuals as a team, as a boss, and you are composing a team, what this tells us is that at least you need one person to be agreeable person on the team. You need 2 people to be conscientious, and you need 2 who are open-minded. It will affect the team performance. And it makes sense to me because agreeable people by their nature, they are very agreeable in the sense that they will not fight you, they will agree to disagree. So even when they are part of a team and there are disagreements, they are the ones who show the way and tell you why we should not fight among ourselves. They are the ones who can calm the storms when they are difficult. So agreeable people are very useful in teams. Anytime you have agreeable people or an agreeable person on a team, it's absolutely important that we see their value. You know, even when you have a group of about 20 people and there's one person who is very agreeable and who, they tend to be more like peacemakers. They do not see the need why we should fight, even though we have strong views on matters. We need such individuals to bring the group together in terms of focus. And one person can even do that for a group of 20. These people, because of their nature, they can bring perspectives that these other ones who are fighting, the 19 who are fighting among themselves, are not thinking about. So that is what the agreeable people bring to the table. Then conscientious individuals, they tend to be hardworking, they are organized, and they are dependable. These individuals, you can count on them. And that element is very important in a big firm, conscientious individuals. Openness to experience speaks to people who are open-minded. They will like to listen to you, they will like to take on other perspectives which are contrary to theirs. They are not likely to dig in and say that it's not coming from me, so it doesn't matter. No, they don't do that. They are the kind of individuals who will be able to look at things on a very balanced and a fair basis. These are the people that we are talking about. So when you form a team of that group, categories of people, you enhance the chances of success. And I must say to you that if you work in an organization as a manager and you know what you are looking out for, you can easily pick these kind of individuals involved. It's all over us, the way we come across, the way we speak, the way we engage with other people in the work setting is all over us. Some of you, you know that you are seen to be a very difficult person, okay? Some are just difficult, and you wonder what really is all about. Agreeable people are not like that. So, as I keep saying to you, as we learn these things, you must learn to improve on yourself. You'll not be 100%, but you'll be better. Okay? So if you're a very difficult person, or you are difficult people among the class, learn to be balanced. Learn to be tolerant to other views. Yes, you are the boss, but learn to listen to other people. These kind of characters are very important. At the highest level, you can be a boss. We compose teams also at the highest level. And most times, these are unspoken, but these things work against people. He's the boss, nobody talks about, or she's the boss, nobody talks about him or her. But somebody will talk about you, whether you like it or not, because there's always going to be a boss over a boss. And when it comes to these things, these matters come into place. When we are composing committees, people watch out for this. But this person is quite difficult person, very open-minded, may disagree with you but will not fight you. This person is very hardworking, very conscientious, dependable. When everybody doesn't show up, you can be sure that he or she will show up. This other person is balanced. These are the kind of conversation that we normally will have on our committees. So let's apply the medication to ourselves first, because you cannot give what you do not have. You must apply it to yourself first, so that when you are talking about it, it will have impact. You can say whatever you want to say. If you don't practice it, it doesn't go very far. And remember, as I said to you in our first lecture, you are all managers, and you are going to be managing people. Master of Business Administration. So it's about managing people. And that level is good enough to take you to wherever you want to go and whatever seat you want to sit on. Of course, I encourage you to go further. So let's understand this, that you are a management student, and it's not the same as somebody who is doing maybe MPhil in physics or chemistry. Not with disrespect to anybody at all, but that is the fact. Because they have a certain focus in science, and that's what they pursue, and that is good. But if you're a management student, you cannot be like the scientists out there who may not have been exposed to management training and exposure. Then number 2, for customer service jobs, individuals with a high level of emotional stability, agreeableness, and openness to experience perform best. When assessments are being done by organizations to take a decision as to who should be hired and not hired, especially when it comes to customer service jobs, these are the key variables that will make the deal. Does the person score high on emotional stability? Is the person agreeable? And is this person open-minded? It's important because if you think about the customer service job, you are consistently engaging people, different kinds of characters. Those who are entering into the office with their problems from home, those who are already dissatisfied about their lives and they want to offload it onto somebody, and shamefully sometimes they find it convenient to do that, especially walk into the bank and they disrespect the people in the bank because apparently they have money in the bank, but people also have money there. It's very important that when individuals like that enter the banking hall and they think that the world should be at their feet, you have that emotional stability to deal with them. You should be able to listen to them. They may not be making a lot of sense to you, but you don't fight back. You know, those who are emotionally unstable, when you speak to them in a way that they feel that indeed you don't have that right to do that, they will speak back. And they can create a scene, for example, in a banking hall. So it requires high-level emotional stability. And you may be one, or you may know somebody like that, who in the midst of disagreements has that calmness and very tolerant and will listen to you. And sometimes the person who is behaving in a way which is not acceptable, you will know that you made a fool of yourself after, even without the person saying a word. Emotional stability is very important for these kind of jobs. Jobs that potentially can have pressure and people consistently come in. For example, if an administrator, you work in a university and students are continuously coming to you. They come to you for some kind of support. Madam, I can't log on. Madam, I can't do this, I can't do that. There are certain jobs that can really be tiring sometimes in terms of the engagements and conversations that you have with people. And you need to be an emotionally stable person. But we've seen that a lot of the times we do not get that considered in hiring people. So you see that the students are not being treated well, the way they are spoken to. It's like, please allow me to live my life, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, you are supposed to offer a service that requires some level of emotional stability. I do think that all administrators and in fact every kind of career, but especially people who deal with students, you need to be emotionally intelligent. And that calls for some emotional stability. Agreeableness and openness to experience also means that you are very agreeable in the sense that let's agree to disagree. That's what agreeableness is all about. We are not going to fight because we have different views on the matter. It's all right for you to think the way you want to think. You can still go out for lunch. We can still go and have a chat or have a fun. There's nothing about we fighting together. But there are some people that because you are not agreeable to them, you become an enemy. They will not say it, but they avoid you. Managers who are customer service oriented in this particular example do not do that. They are very open-minded. They are very tolerant. For managers, emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performance. Watch this last point. Watch it carefully. For managers, so for you to be a top manager, emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performance. This is what this is saying to us. Emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performance for managers. So keep that in mind. Emotional stability and being more of an extrovert are traits of top performance. We'll come back to this in a moment. Let's go to the next slide and I'll come back to this. If you look at this slide, you will see that there's a researcher by name Hans Eisner, and he has done some work on personality studies, and he comes out with some very interesting findings. Eisner was able to establish that there are two types of personalities that we normally will have. We have the extroversion, or we the same as extroverts, and introversion, or the introverts. You are either an extrovert or an introvert. You are not both, okay? You cannot be both. So you have that extroversion or introversion, as I've just indicated. Either you're an extrovert or introvert. In his work, he also found out that the extroverts or extroversion, they tend to be emotionally unstable. The extroverts are emotionally unstable. They also found out that the introverts are emotionally stable. They're emotionally stable. Okay, so I hope you are following. Extroverts tend to be emotionally unstable, emotional instability. Introverts tend to be emotionally stable, emotional stability. Let's go back to the previous slide. For managers, emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performance. Now, how do you reconcile this point and the submission that is made by Eisner? Who can comment on this? What do you see? What is there to be learned from these two submissions? The floor is open for your thoughts. So please let me hear from you. Yeah, Frank.
Yeah, I think that from what we have just read, to be a top manager, I think you need to be an introvert. Because not everything that you have to openly respond to at the workplace as a manager. There are certain things you need to keep in your heart, keep in mind, and take decisions on them later, as you are trying to exhibit to your agreeableness to others. That's what I think.
All right, thanks very much, Frank. Betty, I see your hand, and then go to
Good morning.
Yes, morning, Betty.
So I'll take it from this angle. I believe that from the discussion, we've all come to know that introverts are able to manage their emotions better than extroverts. So if you're a manager and you're an introvert, let's say maybe you've had a bad day from home, you know how to manage the situation without coming into work and then acting up on everyone that you meet because you've had a bad day. But if you're an extrovert, you may extend it to every other thing you do during the day, and that's very bad for management. Thank you.
All right, so, okay, Betty, thanks. So please, once you are done, you can just lower your hand so that we know the people. Then, Rini.
Sir, my point is, as a manager, I think you have to be more of an extrovert. But even though you're an extrovert, you also have to work on emotional stability. Because if you are an extrovert, you are sociable, you are outgoing, you can engage your members to make them feel free to come to you. But you also have a disadvantage of your emotional instability, so you have to work on it. But if you are solely an introvert and people realize that you are reserved, you are timid, people might take it for granted and then walk all over you because they know you wouldn't talk. So I think you have to be an extrovert and work on your emotional stability. Thank you.
All right, Rainy. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so let's listen to Dennis, and then we go to Naomi, and then we can move on. And then please, I think the hands up have quite enough. So let's listen to Dennis, Naomi, and then Christy, and then we move on.
Yeah, good morning. Emotional stability is something for the admin. You must be extrovert. Is something that company or your business. That's what.
All right, thanks, Dennis. So Naomi, then we'll take the final hand from Christiana. So Naomi.
Yes, please. So he's talking from the fact that the managers need to be extroverts, like someone also mentioned, like you are outgoing and all. But as a manager, you know your people, and then you've actually studied each and every one of them before you even brought them in. So I think one way to be able to help stabilize your emotions is that once you know this person is this way, your reaction or your way you deal with that person maybe should be different on how you treat everybody. As in, not that they are specializing, but because you know this person is calm, if you say things this way, the person might get offended, or the person might get. So if you're able to steady your members, it will help you yourself be emotionally stable, though you are outgoing.
All right, okay, so we'll take the last hand from Christiana, and then I'll kind of make our experience. So Christiana, you have the...
Yes, sir. Good morning. So please, I think that from the discussions, it is necessary that any top performing manager should have a blend of both, should be able to be an extrovert when necessary and be an introvert when necessary. Meaning that even though one personality type is required for one person, that the individual or the manager should be able to learn the other type of personality. For instance, if an extrovert, you should be able to learn to have emotional stability, that's introversion. And if an introvert, you should be able to learn to be more outgoing or be an extrovert to achieve success in the organization. Thank you,
right, thanks very much. I think I'll end the discussions on this for now. The other people will be considered in the next opportunity. Let's come back. Let me explain this and then we move on. You are giving kind of similar answers. I think that I have the answer also. And I just wanted to hear the class out and just to tickle your thoughts a bit. But there are two things that came up that made me not obviously go further again, because I needed to quickly come in to straighten things up. I got a sense that some of you are of the view that you need to be an extrovert to be able to perform at the top level. But if you look at this point, see that for managers, emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performers. And somehow there's a thinking that if an extrovert, then you can be you can work on being emotionally stable. But if an introvert, you cannot work on being outgoing. That's the communication I was getting from some of your submissions, especially those who were leaning largely towards extroversion as the best approach or as the best temperament to have. No, the answer to this question is very simple. I think that God is really fair-minded and balanced. Okay, God is really balanced. If you look at the extroverts, they are unstable emotionally. They are very outgoing. They speak their mind. They tend to be assertive. They are firm in their thoughts, but they are emotionally unstable. The introverts, they are tolerant, very calm, quite secure in themselves, and emotionally stable, but they tend not to be outgoing. They can be reserved, They can even be timid. With all the classes that they have, they can be very timid. Sometimes they have the answers. You have introverts in your class who have got some brilliant answers, but they will never say a word. You see? So what this is saying to us, if you go back to this, is that, and I think the Christiana use a word, it's not balanced, but I think use another word, blend. It's quite close to what I want to bring to attention, that if you are emotionally stable as an introvert, which we have learned from Eisner, you need to be aware, you need to show a lot more interest. From my experience, that is the way it normally tends to be. Introverts tend to hold back. They tend not to show interest. They will not say it, but they do not engage with their colleagues more. There will be an interesting conversation going on, they have an opinion, and they're not coming to say a word. They don't engage. Sometimes they have the answers, but they appear not interested. You need to know that if you are that kind of person, and understand that what can change us to go as far as we want to go is knowledge. We can all change. We can all improve on ourselves. I'm not suggesting that the extrovert should become an introvert and introvert become an extrovert. They all have a role they play. But if you're an introvert, the issue of emotional stability and that calmness, especially the phlegmatics, you know, things that would get people angry. I'm sure we know people like that. They may be like that. They are very calm about it, and sometimes amazing. But they tend not to be outgoing. So work on that being lively. They'll be more interesting and be more outgoing. Don't aim to become like the extrovert that when they show up, everybody knows they're around. No. They tend to be very loud and everybody knows, you know, George is around or AC is around. We are not saying that, but you have a job to do. If an extrovert, naturally you are very open, you are very happy, gay person, lively, like the sanguines especially. You introduce themselves and tell you their name when you have not been asked for their name. They will say things to you that you never asked for. And it sometimes can be fun to be around with. People are always very happy. You also have the Colourists, which we'll be looking at shortly, who like to be in control and all that. These are the extroverts, but they lack emotional stability. Sometimes they can be very happy, gay and all that, but they can also lose it and you'll be amazed if it happens that way. So, in short, all of us, we have the work to do. If you're an introvert, learn to show a lot more interest in organizational setting. Learn to be interested in what happens in the meetings. Ask 1 or 2 questions. Don't be all over the place because that is not your nature. But let's feel the presence. Let's feel the presence. Show interest. Very important. I think that for me, but it's largely on showing interest in what is happening in the organization. If an extrovert, by all means, you are very active. We see you all the time. You speak your mind. But sometimes, because of that lack of emotional stability, even in communicating your mind, it can appear as if you are angry. Things get to you and you may say the right thing, but in the wrong way. Typical of the extrovert. So you have to learn to manage your emotions. You might be deliberate about it. Just as it's going to be difficult for the introvert to sometimes become a bit more interested and be lively, it's also going to be the same for an extrovert because you have been used to that for a very long time. For some of you, this may be the first time you are hearing what I'm saying to you, but it's still doable. Still doable. So, in short, we all have a job to do to improve on ourselves. Okay? So the introverts are not better than the extroverts, and the extroverts are not better than the introverts. And that is why I say that God is really fair-minded. What you have in abundance, somebody lacks it. And what somebody has in abundance, the thing that sometimes you are looking for, others have it. And the thing that What you think you wish you got, these people have it, but they also wish they had what you have. Very interesting dynamics there. So we are not better than the other. Let's put it simply. We all have a role we play. There is something about all of us. Sometimes some appear much more important than others because we have not taken pains to intentionally move in the direction of where we have been supposed to be. Because if you do not remember anything at all in organizational behavior, one of the things you must understand and know is that there is a place for all of us. There is a place for all of us. The concept of person fits, organization fits. Our personality fits a certain organization, and it's your responsibility to move in that direction. You should not be where you be tolerated. You should move towards where you be celebrated. And it's that will make you get the satisfaction and the joy that comes with what we do. Because work is part of life, but we must enjoy the work that we do. And your temperament plays a very, very important role in that regard. Now, we are going to look at the 4 temperaments that we normally talk about. I'll briefly explain it and comment on it. Let's go back to a broad statement that I made, that the introverts are emotionally stable and the extroverts are emotionally unstable, or they tend to be emotionally unstable. When it comes to temperament, there are 4 distinct personality types. I'm sure before I go through this, you know where you fit. Okay. Normally, there are 2 dominant personality traits. Normally, I do get questions. I'm anticipating questions that some people may are thinking of, and I'm just going to address them before you ask that. Sometimes the 4 things that we go through, some of you may get the sense that you have almost bits and bits of it. It may be true, but when we go through an assessment, there's always 2 dominant personality that drives what we do, and that makes us do the things that we do. When we look at personality assessment, there's always 2 dominant. And so we keep to that when it comes to assessing people's personality. Which means that you can be sanguine, choleric, you can be choleric, sanguine, you can be phlegmatic, melancholy, you can be choleric, phlegmatic. There's always 2 dominant. And that is what defines you. When we talk about the sanguines are extroverts. So you see that we have stable extroverts or extroverts, same thing. The sanguines and the cholerics are extroverts. But within even the extrovert space, where we say that they tend to be unstable, the sanguines are more stable. Sorry, the sanguines are more stable than the cholerics. I hope you are getting it. So broadly, extroverts tend to be unstable. And there are 2 categories, sanguines and choleric. So it means that in this explanation I'm giving, the sanguines tend to be more stable. So between the 2, the sanguines are more stable than the cholerics. So if you talk about proper instability, it's the cholerics. Because apart from the fact that they sit under the broadly unstable personality trait, when you get into the 2, they are much more unstable. So the sanguines are sometimes referred to as stable extroverts. What are their traits? They are normally talkative. They never stop talking, like some of you. Easygoing, responsive, lively, and they can be carefree. There are some people who can be very shy, and if you see sanguines behave in ways, sometimes in your mind, you can never imagine how this person can do this, because you cannot even do half of it. That is the sanguines for you. When they approach a group, they begin, engaging everyone, and they are very lively and, very easygoing. They don't care too much about the environment. They just get on with it. These are the sanguines, but they tend to be very playful and talkative also. Then we have the unstable extroverts or extroverts. These are the cholerics. They are also extroverts, but these are the ones who are much unstable. They tend to be impulsive, changeable. They like to be in control. They like to order everyone about. They like to dominate. Impulsive. changeable. They can quickly change their mind on matters. Can get very excited about something, the next time a little not excited again, a short moment after not excited. They are restless. There's always something to be done. Sometimes they struggle to relax. They want to be doing something all the time. If it's not sweeping, it's cleaning the table. If it's not washing the bowls, it's intentionally filling the bottles, or removing cupboards even though there are no cupboards. They are mopping the floor. They just mopped the floor a while ago. They come back again. They begin to dust the place all over. They tend to be restless. These are the cholerics. And sometimes they expect everybody to behave the same. So they can get angry when they find out they think that you are not doing what they are doing. And in their minds, even though they don't say it, they think that they are much better off. They are better than you. Because that's why they always think they want to be in control. They want to be the ones to lead. Then you have, within the introvert space, you have the stable introverts. You see, so even though the introverts are largely stable, one is more stable than the other. And these are the phlegmatics. The phlegmatics tend to be very calm. They are even-tempered. They don't lose it by heart. You can annoy them, but they can be tolerant. They are naturally very peace-loving people. They are genuinely peaceful. You see, it's all over them. They are very peaceful. And they are very thoughtful. They don't say much, but they don't normally forget. Do you remember birthdays that the extroverts sometimes will not even remember? They can do things that, if you reflect on it, it will amaze you. And sometimes they surprise people because they don't say much. You think that they don't pay attention to what is happening around them. They do, just that they don't want to say anything. They hardly will comment. They play things in their head, and if they don't think that, they have to say something, they don't. For some of you, you ask a question, somebody provides the answer, and then you raise your hand and say the same thing again. The phlegmatics will not do that. But George just said it, so it's all right. But the extrovert, they want to be heard. They'll come and say the same thing. Then another person will come and say the same thing. And you wonder, if somebody has said it, we are all in this class together. Let's just get on with it and save time and just also cover the ground. So the phlegmatics are like that. Just that sometimes they overdo that we miss out on them. Because they are calm, they can think through things well, but will lose out when they don't share their deep thoughts with us. Then you have unstable introverts. These are the melancholics. These tend to be anxious, worrying over things that will never happen. They can be moody, reserved. They are very reserved and they are pessimistic. The glass is half empty. They prefer to say it that way than the glass is half full. They're always looking at the other side of the argument. So they can be pessimistic in their thinking. And because of that, they like to have perfect situations. They tend to be perfectionists. They are perfectionists in the way that they do their things. Everything must be ideal before they step out. These are the melancholics. They get home and they check the curtain and they are saying, why is the curtain not straight? Why have you put your phone on the table like that? How do you put your phone on the table? But they want to put in a certain way, maybe vertical or horizontal or something. You see them complaining about things that really, there's really no big deal about it. These are the melancholics. When you know them, you know how to live with them. Now, let's quickly come back to this. If you look at the sanguines, if you form a team, the essence of all this is about how we compose teams. Meso-organizational behavior, group behaviors. When you compose teams and you bring sanguines together, you meet and talk and do a lot of talking and not even end up doing the work. When you bring the cholerics together, sometimes they end up fighting. Everybody wants to be in charge. When two cholerics go out together, they hang out, they tend to have a lot of problems because everybody wants to be in charge. we all have our rights. We all want to be in charge. We want to dominate. Two cholerics can Andrew, you are the co-host. Elizabeth Asasu. Elizabeth, you are disturbing the whole class.
It's true, yeah.
Elizabeth Asasu, you are disturbing the whole class. Elizabeth Asasu, you are disturbing the whole class. Andrew, can you meet her and let her know that I'll penalize her? I'll penalize her. I promise I'll do that. Okay? So I've made a note of it. Elizabeth Asasu, I will penalize you. For sure, I will. Okay, so the sanguines will not do their work. Andrew, are you able to find this person and just get the person muted?
Andrew, please, can you remove it? She's disturbing it.
If there's a way, I don't have the time now, I would have blocked her from coming into the class. But let the message reach her that I will penalize her, okay? Because it's total disregard. It means that she's not listening to the lecture. She's not listening to the lecture. So please, if you are in the habit of doing that, you are advised, okay? You are advised to pay attention to this because it will catch up with you. If you don't listen to what we are doing in class, you log in and you do other things, it will catch up with you. We've been doing this very long enough. And I'll not hide it. I'll set questions in areas that people are not paying attention to. And if you don't listen to my submissions and follow things, you'll struggle. So please, I know you have your platforms, talk among yourselves and advise yourselves. You sign up onto this program on your own accord. So if you're not interested, please don't disturb the other members of the class. It's very disrespectful to do that. It's very disrespectful. So that's my advice to the class. And Andrew, you have to have a word with them because this is about the fourth meeting. So we should not be repeating the same thing over and over again. Shouldn't be doing that. So if you join and you are not interested, please remain muted. But we will not allow you to disrespect the class and also to disturb the class. Okay. All right. I think I've been talking to you. If you try some of these things on some other colleagues, I'm sure it will not go well with you. So be very much aware of this. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So basically, I was saying that the cholerics, they tend to be impulsive. They like to be in charge. If you form a team of cholerics, they end up fighting among themselves and they don't go very far with it. The phlegmatics, because of their nature, they can be really laid back and assignments can drag because by their nature, that is the way they tend to operate. Melancholics, because of their perfectionist tendencies broadly, they always want to wait for ideal situations, and they can go round and round in circles because it's not ideal, it's not perfect conditions yet. The benefit of understanding this is that as you form teams, we should be able to bring the right individuals together so that we can get the benefit of these people in the organization. And I'm very, very certain that some of you can certainly see yourself in one or two of these points that I've made in terms of extroverts and introverts. Right. So I want to pause and take some one or two questions if there are, and then we can move on. So if you want me to, Harrison.
No. All what we are doing is helping us as managers to take decisions.
Yes.
Looking at all what we have said, is there a best combination that you can advise as managers we can do, or we can actually put together to help us manage our organizations? Can we assign percentages? I want to, per your experience, employ a percentage of these people, employ a percentage of these people, so that they can give us the maximum output we are looking for?
Well, I think that I can't do that because every job requires, remember what we have said on to date when we were discussing the Big Five, is the fact that for every job, there is a certain person who fits the job role. So we always have to look at the job at hand, and that is what in if you are referring to any two, well, I don't know whether any two of the four temperaments I've just touched on, but you can see that a sanclaw, normally, if somebody is sanclaw, it means that the person is dominantly sanguine. So let's say you are 80% sanguine and 20% choleric, it's a sanclaw. You could also be 65% or 60% sanguine and 40% choleric. It's also sanclaw. If you are claw-san, it's likely then it means that you have dominant trait in choleric. So the first one represents the dominant one, and the subsequent ones represents the minor, if you like. So you cannot say that the sanclaw is better than the claw-san or what. You have to situate it within the job at hand. So under no circumstance can you or anybody prescribe. And that is the beauty of these all things. And that's the point I've been making, that what may not work for one job, or a personality trait that may not work for one job may work for the other. And that is the reason why we need to be mindful of where we head towards in terms of our career aspirations. Because there's a place for all of us. The job that somebody doesn't like, somebody likes it very much. So what rather, if I have advice to give, I'll go back to what I said about top performance. That for top managers, emotional stability and extroversion are traits of top performance. What I therefore will suggest to you is that, number one, find out, and you can know, by now you know that you are introvert or extrovert. If you are an introvert, then it's very likely that emotional stability is not likely to be too much of a difficulty. It doesn't mean that you will not lose it, but you are much more stable than the extroverts. But then what you have to work on is more of being a bit more, showing a lot more interest in outgoing. And if you are an extrovert, then you are likely to be outgoing and certainly work a lot more on your emotional stability. So these are the two key things that I would like to emphasize. But as I've also mentioned earlier, when jobs are being advertised and want to hire people into the organization, these assessment tools can be used as a way to identify the right people for the job. So that would be my submission on it for the question that was asked. So I see Dennis. Is it really Dennis? Dennis, were you the one or Harrison asked the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dennis, you can then ask, and Reno will come in.
But my name, yeah, you made a statement there, quality assess be better or worse than difficult.
sorry, I just saw a mail that is Daniel. Let me just 1 minute plus. Daniel, are you on board now? Andy, do you know whether Daniel is on board? Andrew, are you there?
Say, it looks like Andrew has also left.
Okay. So, is Daniel online? Because I just seen a Daniel was on. Sorry. Okay, so Elizabeth Asasu's thing has obviously affected. That is why you must not be interested when people are misbehaving. You have to tell them that we have a class. You cannot come to my class and talk in my class. You can't. You can do that. So it looks like Daniel was also removed. I removed Elizabeth from the class, and I don't look forward to her joining. And I don't want Elizabeth to join. I've checked. She's not there. She should not try joining this class. So Elizabeth, if you are trying to connect, please do not connect. That's you, Elizabeth. Do not join my class. All right. So Daniel, if you try coming in, you'll be able to do so. So let's come back again to we look at Dennis. We take your question, and I want the whole class to let Elizabeth know that if she tries, I'll be checking consistently. If I see that she is breaking the rule and she's joined the class, you will be told what will happen to her. So just bear this in mind. Elizabeth Asasu, don't join my class. Okay? All right. So Dennis, yes, you have the floor.
Okay, so I said there are no, and he said high scores from what you've done. So I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, Daniel, if you can send me a note because I can't hear a word. Rini, let's hear from you, Rini.
Okay. So please, my question is, in an organization, who has the major responsibility to be considerate of the other? Is it the manager who must be considerate of the personality types of the employees and act with them accordingly, or the employees must know the type of manager they have and act with him accordingly?
Well, I mean, normally it's the manager who is in charge, isn't it? It's the manager who is in charge. I hope your children don't tell you what to do. If you have kids, they don't tell you what to do. You show them the way. Okay, so they are not in charge. You should be in charge. So the manager is the one in charge, but the manager must also have knowledge. Sometimes when we are in charge, it means that we are going to beat everybody in submission. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you must show the way. So the manager must understand the people that they are working with. But you see, the question that you ask, if you are also reporting to a boss, it also applies to you. It's a two-way thing. If you know the boss that you are dealing with who does not understand these things, you should be better understand the person. And you must play it according to how this person operates. But all I'm trying to bring attention to is that number one, you must, in this class, you must apply this knowledge to yourself. So whether you're a manager or not, you need this knowledge. You need the fact that you need to be emotionally stable if you are an emotionally unstable person. You need also to be a bit more outgoing if you are not. These are the traits of top managers, and it's referring to everyone, whether you're a top manager or not. You have to work on this. But more importantly, if you are the manager, you should be able to direct your people. I will be able to share this to you that, look, you report to me, I'll tell you that very hard working, I see that you are very committed, we feel the present organization, but you need to work on your emotional stability. So this is the manager talking to the subordinate. Okay, so that is the application there. Certainly, the subordinate is not going to say to the manager that you are not emotionally stable. We are not trained to do that. You get it? But you must have patience to know that perhaps the person doesn't have that knowledge. So the most important thing in all this is how you apply this to yourself, and in the process of applying it, how you relate to other people. You get it. So it's not about one person must do it, the other should not do it. No, it's about you. You need the knowledge, you must apply the knowledge. So if you're a manager, then you have the knowledge to advise your subordinates. But you and I know that it's not very easy. That's a reality for you to go and advise your boss, unless the boss asks for it. But if the boss has not, you cannot go and say that, boss, you are emotionally unstable, and say all the things that you want to say. You cannot do that. What is important is that you must apply this to help yourself. So that's the point. All right. So Bismarck, let's take your question.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, my question, I wanted to know whether you can conclude that managers or employees must be dynamic.
What does that mean, to be dynamic?
So since most of the traits are supposed to be used maybe in twos, maybe an extrovert must be emotionally stable, and also an introvert must be emotionally stable. So you can't just use one trait or one behavior to just be a manager, but to combine maybe two or three in order to be a good manager.
Well, Bismarck, so, if you want to use one, you can use it, but you'll be a certain kind of manager, okay? And we see that all around. We see people who are not emotionally stable and all that. But we also have managers who are able to combine the two. Remember that I said for top managers. So if you want to be a top manager, there's no way out. You must be emotionally stable, must be more of an extrovert. That is the thing about top managers. You must be emotionally stable, and you must be able to show some interest in what happens in the organization. So you need the two, but you can have people who are not emotionally stable, but they can be very driven, and we know that those people, when you work with them, they are always, you feel very uncomfortable. They are not so supportive of your needs and all that. You can also have managers who are emotionally stable, but they don't get anything done. They tolerate everything, and they don't show much interest in actually getting the work done. So it's about the balance between the two.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to know who is a good manager.
All right, so let me ask your colleagues. Can somebody explain to me, Matilda, what have I said so far? Your question from your colleague is that who is a good manager? Matilda, can you explain for us? Your hand is up.
Hello, Paul. I wanted to ask a question actually.
No, but you answer my question also before I answer your question. So, who is a good manager according to this man? With all the things that I've said, the question that he's asking, I think that you can also add to it for him to get what I've said so far.
Okay.
I've said it several times, but he's not getting it. So, can you tell us?
Okay, so to me, I think a good manager should be a person who is able to balance the traits that he has. So whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, you should be able to balance it.
Okay, the answer, Matilda, thanks very much. But it's like a politician's answer. Balance it. What does it mean? What exactly do you mean? That's what the politicians normally say to us. You don't understand what they're saying, but they say something. All right, you see, so what I said is that for top managers, you can replace it to be for a good manager. And top managers are like to be good because they are emotionally stable and they are extroverts, or they lean more towards extroversion. So I would say that a good manager will be one who knows how to manage his or her emotions well, and they also get results for the organization. Because you see, if you don't balance it, as Matilda put it, and my balance, I'm explaining, Matilda did not explain her balance. If you're not able to get the balance right in terms of being outgoing and not being emotionally stable, you may get the work done, but you can lose your staff because of what you took them through. If you are very good at what you do, but are not emotionally stable, you'll be stepping on toes consistently throughout the organization. So that is why, if you are that kind of person, you need to work on this aspect of you so that you get to a level where you get the results, but you still can tolerate views that are not normally you would not have tolerated. You get it? So that you're able to bring people together in the pool. If you are also very stable, but you are not action oriented, everything goes, then there's no benefit to the organization. You accept everything, but you don't take any action. So these are the things that we are trying to emphasize to you, that you can be emotionally stable and not be very successful because you don't make things happen. You must show a lot more interest, work towards outcomes and all that. So that kind of combination is very important. And I made a point that there are some who lean more towards one than the other, or there are some who just practice one than the other, but we need that kind of middle ground, if you like, to be able to give off your best to the organization. Okay. So, Matilda, you can now ask your question and then we will move on.
Okay, Paul. I wanted to find out the big five as against job trainings, because I realize that sometimes there are certain kind of trainings that some people are given that is able to make them fit certain kind of roles. So that's my question.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Matilda. So the big five is actually to help find people. And it's a very good question you ask, and it's used in training people, because when you go through the big five, we are able to establish the areas that you need a lot more training on. So it will reveal your weaknesses in relation to the work to be done or the work environment. And so when you are being trained, we strengthen those areas so that you can become more holistic. In fact, if you go through the slides, there's a section where I talk about how these things come together. There are some organizations or some people who run coaching sessions, and before they take you through that, they will take you through these assessments to establish your strengths and your weaknesses. And then based on the knowledge that they get, they are able to help you strengthen the areas of weaknesses so that you become more holistic. So it is applicable in training people. We go for Kwabena Osei, and then we'll take the last from Dennis.
Good morning, Prof.
Yeah.
Please, my question is it possible for one to completely change from one personality trait to the other? Say somebody is sanguine. Can that person completely become pragmatic? Thank you, sir.
Good. I think very straightforward. If you go through the discussion that we had before, I think I made a point that when you get into literature, there are two schools of thought. There are those who hold the nomothetic view, the nomothetic viewpoint. Those who hold the nomothetic viewpoint take the view that your personality is inherited and is resistant to change, which means that environmental factors do not impact on your personality. So the dynamics of the times doesn't impact on your personality. These are the nomothetic researchers. And indeed, if you look at the assessment tools, the Big Five and all the others like the MBTI and all that, these are all nomothetic assessment tools. They all lead to the fact that who you are today is what you'll be tomorrow. That is one thinking or orientation when it comes to personality studies. So if you go with that kind of explanation, then it means that whoever you are is what you be. Whoever you are or how you come across last year is what you be this year and whatever the rest of the years, with a nomothetic approach to understanding personality. On the other hand, if you look at the second one, the ideographic, they take the view that the environmental factors actually influence our personality. And therefore, our personality is more a reflection of the environmental changes that we are going through. See? So, the second view takes the position that the dynamics of the times has huge impact on your personality. So, what you are now will not be what you be tomorrow, potentially. And I think in my second lecture, I explained that I lean towards that viewpoint that yes, you may have been born in a certain way, and we do know that we all have a certain percentage of our parents and even our grandparents in us. And those behaviors come up in a number of ways. But as you go through exposures and some kind of training, we are able to modify that kind of behaviors. So with that explanation, it also means that somebody who may be more a choleric, very dominant and want to be in charge and all that, maybe at the early stages of their life. Sometimes as you go through life, the life experiences that you go through tempers you a bit. And I remember I made that point in our second lecture when I said that if you are the firstborn of your parents, I'm just generalizing, I know. If you are the firstborn, one of the things that sometimes you realize is that the way your parents handle you, you are normally not given any breathing space at all. They are so strict on you and all that. And then you look back and you look at your siblings and what your siblings are getting away with, you wonder, is it the same person who is now, changed like that? Yes, they've changed because they have learned through experience. And they've seen that some of the things that we make a big deal of, really we shouldn't. So that same person who reacted or behaved in a certain way much earlier, so through knowledge and exposure, may end up modifying how they people. So I'm not saying my response to you is that I share the view that one, I will not say that you change completely from extroverts to introverts or whatever, but I'll share the view that it's possible for one to modify their behaviors based on the experiences they've gone through. But I also want to make the point that when you look at the personality studies, there's always one dominant and one minor. There are some people that are referred to as the borderline personality traits. These are the ones who are very close between even though they may be extroverts, they'll be very close to the extroversion and the introversion mark. Just for example's sake. So let's say that somebody can be 51% extroverts and let's say 49% introverts. Just for even let's say 55% extroverts and 45% introverts. This is much closer to each other than somebody who is 70% extrovert and 30% introvert. You see, those people who tend to be much more closer in their personality, even though they have the dominant and the minor, they are the ones that sometimes they appear to be able to become extroverts on one hand and then introverts on the other hand because they tend to be borderline. But for most who are largely introverts or extroverts, they may be tempered in terms of how they deal with things and how they react to issues. So I personally share the view that the environmental processes that we go through, the society's challenges that we experience and experiences that we have in life in general, they can modify our personalities. I share that view. But I'm also bringing the other angle that in research, there are also people who believe that no matter the exposures that you go through, the societal experiences, you will always be what you have been. So that is my response to your question. I think just to make it clearer, finally, those who are borderline.
Well understood.
Yes, those who are borderline, they are likely to move based on environment. Sometimes they appear extroverts. Sometimes also they appear introverts. They are likely to be more borderline. But for most of us who may be purely introverts, maybe 70-30, 80-20, that kind of thing, your behaviors can be modified or will modify as you go through life and exposures. Dennis, is the hand an old one or a new one?
Yeah, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, Dennis.
Yeah, I was asking, according to, if you read David A. Bachman in a book like Organizational Behaviour, he made a statement that when you are assessing personality, high scores cannot be said to be better or worse than low scores. And he also mentioned about intelligence or aptitude test, where that one you can use nose scores and eye scores to determine the personality. So I wanted you to reconcile these two and also elucidate more on them for me.
Yeah, you see, the issue about, I think I made a point earlier by saying that it's all about who we are and what we do. Who is an intelligent person anyway? And I think that we have to look at this. On what basis are we talking about intelligence? I have come across people in the villages who may not have sat where you are sitting or where I am sitting. But when you engage them, you realize that if they had opportunities that we had, they will be even far better than us. So are we judging intelligence based on somebody's ability to memorize stuff or being able to, rattle theories or explain theories? Are we judging intelligence based on one's ability to recall stuff that they have heard? When we situate within our culture, which is something I value very much, and you've grown closer to the elders, I have hung out with some few elders and I continue to do that. Some of them may not be very, very educated, but they have wisdom. They communicate wisdom. Are we going to say that because they do not understand organizational behavior, perhaps they are not clever or they are not intelligent? So the issue of intelligence, as far as I'm concerned, is neither here nor there. It will be specific to a certain work or activity. We have to be very balanced in ourselves, because the very person who is not intelligent, you can hold a contrary view, but the very person that we say is not intelligent, that person is not intelligent indeed, perhaps because the person may not have been given the exposures and the training that you have had through no fault of theirs. Okay, so I'm tackling this before coming back to the issue of scores, where you mentioned that how do we reconcile the two? Indeed, no one personality is better than the other. If you're an extrovert, I think I made that point. If you're an extrovert, you're not better than the introvert, and the introvert is not better than the extrovert. But if you want to use the word better cautiously, you'll be better than the introvert or extrovert, depending on the work to be done. So, for example, when we spoke about customer service jobs, we said that for customer service jobs, emotional stability, agreeableness, and openness to experience is very important. So, if you bring an extrovert like a choleric, who is maybe a chlomel, dominantly choleric and melancholy, who have a certain mindset, they tend to be unstable, because the cholerics are more unstable in the domain of the extroverts, and the melancholics are more unstable in the domain of the introverts, as we explained here on this slide. So if somebody is chlomel, that person is likely to be emotionally unstable. And when you make that person customer service person, that person is not likely to do a good job in that place. But if, let's say, you have a choleric, somebody who they have leadership tendencies, they are perfectionists, and that person perhaps is working in a lab or a scientist of some of that nature, where exactness is important and perfectionist, and normally scientists, they work together in groups. If you have melancholics they tend to be they like to look at all angles. They look at issues of risk, even when there's no risk, they will anticipate risks. If you have somebody like that who is choleric, showing leadership, they want to be in charge, they want to drive things, and their person is a melancholic also. In the field of research and actively trying to find solutions and all that, if you bring those people together with some people who are also stable in terms of phlegmatics, who are emotionally stable, because if you are driven, you also need patience. If you bring these kind of individuals together, you will excel very well. So all I'm trying to say is that for us to do ourselves good, we should be able to know who we are, and we must move in the direction that will enhance who we are in terms of our careers. So the point that you made I'll summarize it by saying that whichever way you look at it, no one person is better than the other. We're not only talking about nature in terms of traits that people have, we're also looking at the environment. So if you want to be balanced, then people can be intelligent or not intelligent in our view based on the environment within which they find themselves in. Those same people can be something else if they find themselves in the kind of environment that they should be for them to be intelligent. When we also talk about the issue of temperaments, not being able to, not using scores as a basis for determining who is good and who is bad, I agree to that, because one temperament is not necessarily better than the other. If you want to use the word better than the other, then it should be said within the context of the work at hand to be done. And in fact, that is the reason why this organization, so that we hire the right people for the job. All right, I think we spend a lot of time on this, and we want to move on. I want us to look at a work that has been done by a researcher. I'll be very brief on this, Carl Jung. One of the assessment tools that is heavily used in the US, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, is normally referred to as the MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. This happened to be a tool that was designed by Isabella Briggs Myers and Catherine Briggs. And they've come up with an assessment tool just like the ocean and the things that we have been talking about in terms of identifying and establishing people's personality. And these have been able to find out that through the assessment, you can actually match one's personality with the career that they should pursue. Okay. But the foundation to their work was derived from the work done by Carl Jung. Carl Jung is a researcher who was able to identify that for every single one of us, there is 4 universal aspects of us. There are 4 things about us that is consistent or applies to all of us in this life, and he calls it archetypes. I want us to quickly go through these 4 points, and if you disagree, you can let me know by show of hand. Number 1, if you look at the second point, it says that Jung identifies 4 universal aspects of everyone's personality that he refers to as archetypes. He claims we all strive for self-actualization. The question is, do we all strive for self-actualization? I think yes, we all do in our own right. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow speaks of 5 level needs. He starts by talking about the fact that people will normally start from the physiological need. That becomes a driver, a motivation to what they do. Then from the physiological needs, they move to what we call security and safety needs. That's the second level need. From the second level need, they now move to what we call love and belongingness need. When that need is met, they now aspire to move to the 4th need, what we refer to as esteem needs. And then from the 4th level, you get to the 5th level, which he calls self-actualization. These are the 4 level needs according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we all strive for self-actualization. I think we all do. Number 2, Carl Jung also says that we all have a darker self. What that basically means is that there is an aspect of us that we don't want other people to know. There are skeletons in the cupboard. That's a darker self. Do we all have a darker self? And they want to hear from you after this. Number 3, according to Carl Jung, we all have both masculine and feminine qualities. I'm going to explain this because of time. So a man can have a feminine quality and a woman can have a masculine quality. What does Carl Jung mean? It has nothing to do with physique. It's more to do with behaviors and traits that we show. So when we say that a woman has a masculine quality, what it basically means that woman can have qualities like being very brave, very bold and determined and focused. These are normally deemed to be masculine traits. Issues of bravery. That's why we make a lot of noise about Yaa Asantewaa if you go through history. Because a woman was able to lead the army, to take grounds for the kingdom. You see, so when we talk about Yas and Chua, it connotes bravery. That is a masculine quality. When we talk about a man having a feminine quality, we are talking about things like compassion and empathy. We know that women have doses of that. At least I want to believe that is the case. That most women tend to be a bit more empathetic. They show a lot more compassion than men. So if a man demonstrates that kind of trait, it can be seen as a feminine. So the things that are perceived to be abounding in one space, like bravery, boldness, and all that, they tend to have a kind of macho tag, masculine. And then the things that are much more softer in nature and all that, we associate them with feminine qualities. And according to Kajan, we both have masculine and feminine qualities. And then number 4, he says that we all have a role we can play. Very important, according to his findings. It means that nobody is of nobody. In short, nobody is useless. We all have something about us. And so we should never sit back and say that I have no contribution to make. We all do have contributions to make. The only problem is that we've not taken pains to find where we should be. And if you have been listening, I've been stressing this in this class because we can move in the direction we should be moving towards. Let's use the knowledge to enhance ourselves first. What defines you? Don't become someone else. Move in the direction of your personality. So begin to reassess yourself. Are you doing marketing because perhaps somebody said to you should do marketing? Or marketing is the new thing? Are you doing finance because you think that, well, finance, the benefits are out there, they are massive in the bank industry, the insurance companies and all that? Yes, you may be right. Are you doing HR because you think that, well, HR is what somebody said I should do? Look at your personality and let that inform you, especially at the master's level. Because I share the view that the first degree matters, but it doesn't matter very much as far as I'm concerned. It's just for confidence. After that, the whole world is open up for you to take. These are my thoughts. We've had engineers who move to do business. If you go into the banking sector, you have a lot of engineers there. We don't do engineering in the banking sector, maybe financial engineering. You can have somebody who did not do anything. It's this part of the world that we are normally caged and we cannot open ourselves up a bit more. But in other jurisdictions, I know somebody who did first degree in social sciences and went to the UK and now a medical doctor. Okay? So the point I'm saying is that we should not cage ourselves with our first year. I read accounting in my first year, my first degree, so I'm going to read accounting and finance. Nothing wrong with it. But is that you? I know somebody who read accounting, had an upper, and came to read HR. Doing fantastically well now because he found himself at the master's level. So all I'm trying to say, and I'm drumming it in for a purpose, because I know for a class like this, you have these kind of individuals in the class where people are doing things without any regards and respect to their personalities. Let's correct it if we have to correct it. So Kajan's findings are very important, and I think that you should all agree with me that these things apply to all of us so that we can just move. But the MBTI had to rely on these 4 areas, that we all strive for self-actualization, we all have a darker self, we all have both masculine and feminine qualities, and we have a role we can play. This was the foundation to the MBTI. And if you look at the last point, the MBTI too has promoted considerable research interest, particularly with regard to the correlation between personality type, occupation, and management style. In fact, the way we even manage people has something to do with our personality. It's very possible for a choleric to be autocratic. It's very possible. Somebody who is choleric, they like to be in charge. They don't like people to challenge their views and their thoughts. So their management style will be more of a bent towards autocracy. It's very possible. You see, it's very possible for you to have somebody who is a sanguine to be a bit more they tend to be dominantly sanguine, can be more democratic in their thinking. Certainly, even phlegmatics also. Melancholics also may have the tendencies to be very, because of their perfectionist tendencies, if they're in charge, they are likely to be autocratic. You get it? So, these personality traits can influence our job and even our style of management. And the break type indicator has been very much used in that direction. I want to go through this briefly, and then I'll pause and take a set of questions, then push for the last point. Now, what's the essence of this? It's kind of relates to the question that was asked, a conventional affirmative that made about, can this be used in building teams? Yes. The essence of this assessment is so that we hire the right people for the organization, one, and also to build the right teams. Organizations take personality of candidates into consideration at the selection interview. When I sit on an interview panel, without you going through an assessment, I can fish out what I want to see. Okay? I can fish out. And normally based on the role at hand, I'll be able to know certain questions to ask to elicit certain points that I want to see. So even just by knowing what to do and what to ask, as you sit on interview panels, of course, everybody and their bread and butter, isn't it? So you can know which questions to ask, and you'll be very almost certain. Sometimes in the way you walk in, how you respond to questions can reveal whether this is the person suitable for the job role we are talking about or not. So these personality traits really does help in selecting people. So it's a major criteria for selection or rejection for some organizations. For some of them, if you do not meet the criteria per the job at hand, you will not go through. So although the last point says, although interviews are being used as a way to selecting people for job roles, these psychometric measures that we are talking about are gaining a lot of ground. In fact, a number of organizations these days will take you through one or two assessments before they take a decision on you. So they are indeed being applied in organizations. But let me bring another view of it. Some also hold the view that these assessment tools are not really what they claim to be. That they doubt their validity, which means that they are not measuring what they claim they are measuring. My response to this is that there's evidence in research to show that organizations that use these assessment tools in hiring people, they tend to have very low attrition rates. People join the firm and they stay for long and they enjoy the work environment. Why? Because they have been selected for the job that they really want to do. So there's evidence to show that these assessment tools do work. There was a research that was done in one industry, the hotel industry, where I think Marriott Hotel in the States did some studies years back, and they found out that they were having difficulties with people joining the firm and leaving the organization after a short while. The attrition rate was so high that it became a concern to management. So management decided that in hiring people, they are going to depend largely on these assessment tools. So they began using assessment tools as a way to bring in people into the organization. And they found out that the people that came in, following the usage of the assessment tools, they stayed longer. It reduced attrition rate quite significantly. And the people stayed in the organization for much, much longer and showed a lot more commitment because they were enjoying what they were doing. Which gives you a pointer to the fact that if you hire the right person for the right job, they are likely to stick in there and to commit, because it's not only about the money, it's all about the joy that comes to the work that they do. Okay, most people get into academia and are teachers not because of the money that are paid, it's because of the satisfaction that they get imparting knowledge. Because I can say to you that I've sat on panels, and sometimes my students, if I look at my students' salary, and that time they will jokingly say to you, won't you want to consider this job? And I normally will smile at them because that is not the job I want to do. I've sat on panels that sometimes, if you look at the salary of your student is taking sometimes about 5-6 times what you are taking. Large sums. But even these students, all that they managed to get in your paper was even a C. You are teaching it they are taking much more than you do. But that is life. That's the point I'm trying to make. I will not move in the direction of money. Money is important. But with time, you will see that it's not about money. It's about the real impact that you have on people by what you do. So we can indeed select people for job roles. And it helps, it makes a difference. So these things are valid. Some also argue that when you assess people's personality, you are infringing on their privacy. Well, you can say that, but we assess people's personality not to put it in the public domain. I know that it's worth talking about this because we live in an age where everything must be on social media. But if you are into this sort of assessment, be aware that it's unethical for you to put people's personality profiles on social media. In fact, you'll be sued for it if you do that. So don't try it. And the British Psychological Society has even provided guidelines and codes of practice for users of psychometric tests. And at the heart of it is the fact that people's personalities must not be put in the public domain. It must not be the song for everyone to sing and to be all over the place. It's just to help us establish whether the person that we are considering is suitable for the job at hand or not. So this should not be a problem when it comes to talking about people's personality. It should not be a problem because, and I guess if you are a professional, you will not do that. These are the kind of things that will largely sit within the HR space. These are normally pushed by HR. They are the ones who have these records. You know that the HR unit is the unit, they know everybody's date of birth, they know the money that everybody takes, they have everybody's story, life history. Okay, and professional organizations, how do HR go about discussing people? Because right, it's not ethical and it will not work for you. So the assessment tools are real, they do work. We do not infringe on people's privacy because it's not to be put in the public domain to discuss people in a negative light. It's just to help us find the right person for the right job. And that is it. I also want to look at the application in team building. And this was a question that was asked earlier on. Even though I've commented on it, I still want to quickly touch on it. If you look at the first point, it talks about the fact that personality questionnaires are vulnerable if completed by individuals for their personal development and for building holistic teams, development programs. What this is saying to us is that it can be used to build people. It can be used to build individuals. It can be used to build people. If you go to the States again, there are people who are into coaching. They coach individuals. They help you. That is their job. They will help you find yourself well, and so you can operate effectively in your environment. One of the things they do is to take you through these assessment tools and to reveal your strengths and your weaknesses, and they help you overcome your weaknesses through the coaching processes. So it can be used for personal development. It also can be used in building teams, as I earlier on alluded to. We can form and compose the right teams if we know their personality. Remember, I mentioned to you that for teams that gives you performance, good performance, you need agreeable people, you need conscientious people, and you also need the openness to experience also. These are the three main things that you have to consider when you are composing teams. So if you know this, you can compose the right team. So if you look at the third point, it says that it's supposed to audit strengths and weaknesses, provides opportunity to develop a balanced team and complement personality, skills, and abilities. In short, these assessment tools can be used to complement each other. We can complement each other if you know my weakness, and my weakness is your strength, and your strength is my weakness, vice versa. We can build stronger teams than if we don't know. We tend to form haphazard teams. Because you have first class and you all went to Achimota or whatever, let's bring them together. It may work, it may not work, but we want it to work. So let's look at the personalities involved. I do believe that schools influence us. I do believe that. So let's consider everything together and form the team. Okay? Look at the last point, and I think that it says everything that I've said today. None of us is perfect. but a group of people whose strengths and talents complement each other can be. In short, it's about your strength helping me out with my weakness, and your weakness, I helping you out with my strength. Anytime you have a team that complements each other, they tend to survive and they tend to do well. If you lack that, it can cause problems in teams and disagreements. We are supposed to complement each other, and that is the essence of teamwork and group or team effectiveness. So I'm pushing for a purpose. I hope you are following, but if you have a question that is something that is not very clear, please raise your hand. I'll give you the opportunity. I want us to quickly look at personality and social expectation. I'll spend a moment on this because you have the notes. Your personality in the workplace, it can cause stress to you. Anytime you are being asked, let's say you are naturally an introvert, because you want a job, you get that, so there's a company that is recruiting people for a job and all that, and you go through the assessment place because you are placed into the marketing team. You have to go out and market some products. You will never be looking forward to going to work if you are naturally an introvert. You know, especially a phlegmatic. You will never be looking, because you struggle doing it. Marketing will be very difficult for you because of your nature. Not because you are not good, but it's because to sell stuff, to make a case for somebody to buy stuff. I have seen that quite a number of the people into marketing I've seen, quite a number of them tend to be more extroverts. That's what I've seen. I'm not saying that an introvert cannot, because it also depends on the level of introversion that the person has. But I tend to see that extroverts tend to lean more towards marketing. You know, even the colors that they like, they tend to like bright colors and they want their presence to be felt. Introverts, on the other hand, like to have very calm, and you know, even when they exist, they don't even want to know that they are around. I see people who are very pragmatic, laid back, like auditors. You know, they have the pace to go through the dots and the points, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I'm not saying an extrovert cannot be, but you can be doing something that you should not be doing anyway. So if you have the knowledge, all I'm saying is that use it. So I went in this direction just to say that when we are given assignments that are not in line with our personality, it can cause stress to us. So we normally say that the assignment is contrary to your type. Anytime you are doing something that's contrary to your type, you always have to adapt, come up with a certain kind of adaptive response to it. And that causes stress to us. So society can want us to behave in a way that is not contrary, that is contrary to our type. Let's be aware of that. You may not have what you want now, but when you have knowledge, take the effort. Sometimes you don't try hard enough. Take the effort to move in the direction of your passion. Life is short to be somebody else, not be yourself. So let us not live our lives in line with society's expectations. And what I mean is that let's not allow society to force us to become what we are not. I agree that the environment will have influence on us, but it should not take control and mask our true preferences within the workplace. So this could cause stress, and managers need to be mindful. So if a manager is giving a work to somebody and that person is not in line, and normally the person may not even have been trained for the job, it can cause stress to people. I think this would be a nice place to pause to take some comments, one or two comments, and then we have almost done our time, but I would like to take some few minutes to wrap it up. So please, if you have one or two comments, if you don't have it and you get it very well, then it also will be very helpful so that we can move on. But if you certainly have a question, My job is for me to explain for you to get. So please, by all means, do ask. I see a question here. Oh, somebody said earlier on, we can't hear you, sir. Please, can you hear me? I'm sure you can.
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yeah, so Priscilla send a message. Priscilla, they may be coming from your end. Once in a while, I do check the message, but I'm not following through because it can also interrupt your focus. Prof, please, is there a correlation between personality types and intelligence of an employee or employer with regards to outputs? Interesting question. Correlation between personality types and intelligence of an employee. I think I answered that question in a way, but saying that, to be honest with you, what I have read and come across, I do not see one personality type being more intelligent than the other. If you use the intelligence loosely, that the intelligence will apply because the person is doing a job that is not in line with their personality. So somebody will come across as being more intelligent than the other because the person is doing something which is not in line with their personality. But I do not think that somebody is intelligent and some is not intelligent. I think that intelligence will be based on the job at hand. And then also there's a question here about personality types and type of an employee or employer with regards to output. Certainly, if you are given a work which is not in line with your personality trait, then it will show in the output. So for effectiveness in the workplace, we need to hire the right people. A lot of the time, these things are not considered, and that becomes a problem to organizations ultimately. Matilda, I see that, please, I can't hear. Matilda, is it, then it may be coming from your end, Matilda. Matilda, is it still the case that you can't hear?
No, she can hear now.
Okay. Okay, so somebody was advising Matilda that please leave and reconnect it well. Okay. So I guess I have exhausted all the charts we can hear. Okay, there's a long one here. Let me take it. Okay, so this question has been Dennis asking. According to Dr. Buckham in his book Organizational Behaviour, he said there are no correct or wrong answers in a personality assessment. Yes, I think I've said it. High scores cannot be set with better or worse than low scores. Yes, I've said that. How do you reconcile and shine light on this statement? I think, Dennis, I explained it. Once you type, it's actually much more clearer by saying that, yes, one cannot be better than the other because you are not looking at the work at hand. As I said, if somebody, the auditors tend to be phlegmatic, very calm, and they have the patience to go through the books and all that. They are quite thorough with that. If you are not that kind of person and personality, you may be very haphazard with your work, like a sanguine. They are always on the move. They want to move to the next thing. A sanguine may not perhaps do well in that kind of space, especially if you are dominantly sanguine. But if you are less, you are sunfleck. You can be outgoing, but you have the phlegmatic tendencies, which are the ones that can really take time to go through stuff the way they should. Then you'll be able to do well in that career. And as I said, when we interact with you, we can always know what you should be. We should be doing. All right. So I want us now to quickly look at the next slide. Quickly spend just a moment, and then we can bring the class to a close. I know that some of you may have a class after this, but I quickly want to touch on Friedman and Roseman. Well, these researchers did some work, and I'll go through. So please stay with me. I'll just need max 10 minutes, and we'll wrap up. They happened to be researchers, medical students at the time, and they made an observation. What observation they made was that they saw that there was a correlation between people's personality and those suffering from premature heart diseases. What they found out was that there are some type of individuals they call type A. They established that there are two types of personality according to their research: type A personality and type B personality. They noticed that type A people tend to be excessively competitive, and they are always working under moderate to high levels of stress. It means that the work of these individuals, the type A, they tend to be naturally competitive and they are always under stress. These individuals, they found out that they are more than 2 times likely to have heart diseases. These are medical students at the time, and that's the research they did and they found. If you look at the last point, say the societies that place premium on achievement, competition, and mastery tend to promote type A personalities. In fact, the world that we live in now seems to promote type A personality. It seems to promote type A personality. It seems to be moving towards competition and achievement and all that. So most people, or most of us, are being pushed to be very competitive. So be aware of that. But it also has some challenges in terms of more stress because of this, and can lead to heart-related conditions. So type A are competitive, they work under stress, and they are more likely to suffer heart diseases. These are the characteristics that they found about type A personalities. And please, as you go through, apply it to yourself. They tend to be ambitious. They are highly competitive. They are achievement-oriented, that is type A. They are achievement-oriented. They like to achieve. They are very driven, certainly, if you are achievement-oriented. They finish other person's sentences for them. When somebody is speaking, before the person says the last word, they will come in and complete the sentence for them. You may be like that, or you may do somebody like that. They always move, work, and eat rapidly. In short, they are always in a hurry. There's always unfinished business they want to finish. They quickly skim through reading materials, and they prefer summaries and condensation of books. They don't have the patience to read stuff. They like summaries. They like condensed information. They don't want to spend time going through the information in detail for themselves. They easily become angered by slow-moving lines or traffic. When they are in traffic, they get agitated. You see that they begin, their heartbeat accelerates. They are edgy. They become really unhappy because they are in traffic. You can't do anything about it. So just enjoy the moment and calm down. But type A's, they do not do that. They feel an impatient with the rate at which most events take place. It means that they can be impatient with the environment within which they work. They can be very impatient. They tend to be unaware of the details or beauty of their surroundings. Because they are always in a hurry, they miss their environment. They miss the beauty of the environment. They can be looking with their eyes closed. So they are looking, but they are not looking. They are not aware of the environment. They frequently think about other things while talking to someone. So you think that you are having a conversation with them, but they keep on saying, "Pardon, what did you say?" Because they keep getting distracted by other thoughts that is occupying their minds. And sometimes, or most times, it ends up to be work-related. Or they are just not with you, the type A, because their mind is somewhere else. They take on more responsibility that they can handle. They like to take on more. They hardly say no, because they believe that they can strive to achieve anything that they want. These are type A personalities. They believe that with enough effort, they can overcome any obstacle, and they push themselves accordingly. In short, type A individuals, you can almost say that they are the workaholics, if you like. They consistently push themselves, and they go for it big time because they believe they can do it. Stay with me. Without this type A, there can also be a type B. So individuals who are type B, according to their researchers, Friedman and Roseman, they exhibit opposite characteristics and have intentionally bolded opposite and in quotes. This opposite does not mean opposite as in the sense that they do not want to do anything the type B. And we'll see that shortly. So stay with me. Opposite is different from the opposite that you know. So we'll look at it. So there are type A and type B. So far, we are seeing that type A are very much driven. Type A individuals are more prone to heart attacks, diseases that can be. And understand that when you talk about this, it's not about the elderly or the younger ones. These things happen to the old as well as the young. Green leaves are falling these days, and dry leaves are also falling. Sometimes we weaken our immune systems by their stress levels. When you are stressed, your immune systems go low. And things that should normally not knock you can knock you out. So type A people are exposing themselves to some of these. Okay. And I know we have type A among your class. There are this question that they ask: do you suffer any of these symptoms? Alcohol abuse, excessive smoking, dizziness, headaches, fatigue, sweating, stomach upset? If yes, this could be stress response to type A behavior pattern. What this is saying to us is that when you have somebody who is type A, they are likely sometimes to hide behind the stress that they go through alcohol abuse. Some also into excessive smoking. Some of them do not engage in these vices, but they are always feeling dizzy. Some have continuous headaches. Some are always tired. This is an exhibition of stress. And normally type A individuals do go through this experience. Beware of heart-related conditions like heart attacks. If you are B, is that affecting your career prospects? Because of time, let me explain. I'm not saying anything about B now, but let me talk about B now. Type B individuals are not lazy. They are ones that, according to these researchers, they are balanced rather. They know how to work hard and they know how to play hard. They know when to stop and they know when to start. They are balanced. These are the type B. What about your response? How do you respond to these challenges? I normally would want to hear from you how you deal with stress. But let me emphasize that stress is very alive today. Most people are stressed because they are doing the wrong job in the sense that the job is not in line with their personality. We'll spend a moment later on to look at some of the issues that comes with stress. Even when you are excessive workload, using with unreliable equipment, these are all sorts of stress organizations. But for now, be aware that stress is real, just as COVID is real. And you must make sure that you are able to deal with stress. You are aware of stress. When stress is coming, see it and know how to deal with it. Some people handle stress through exercising. Some know when they are getting headaches, they know when to slow down. Some will just rest. People do all kinds of things to manage stress, but we cannot ignore the issue of stress. I'll take this slide and I'll pause and take comments or questions and then we'll end up. The researchers that we are talking about, who were then medical students at the time when they did their research, they came out with some advice for people who are type A. So they are saying that if you are type A, good, but be careful. Move more towards type B. Sometimes we do what we do because we lack awareness or we are not trained to handle it well. So this is what they suggest. They say that we must keep reminding ourselves, if you are type A, that life is full of unfinished business. What they are not saying is that do not work hard, but know that you can work hard, but you may not finish your work. So know when to stop when it's getting out of hand. Remind yourself that life is full of unfinished business. I'm also not saying that you should go to work and go and sit down and do nothing. When your boss comes to your desk, you say to your boss, "Boss, life is full of unfinished business." That's not what I'm saying. When you say that, your boss will ask you, "What do you mean?" And then you go to the second point that they said, "You only finish when you die." And that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that, indeed, life is full of unfinished business. Let's work very hard. But let's also be very careful of our health, because stress is real and it's causing a lot of damage to a number of us. You only finish when you die. So they are also reminding ourselves that there will always be something to be done. It is not a ploy to be lazy. Let me emphasize it again. But sometimes you know that you are working very hard and you are overworking and you are stretching yourself. You only finish when you die. After you've gone, somebody will be sitting on your seat and be doing the same thing. So life will never come to a standstill when you've left. Life will go on. So they are suggesting to type A individual be balanced, work hard, but also be aware that there is stress and that causes harm. One of the ways to deal with stress is to delegate work to people. In their submission, Friedman and Rosamond said that you must learn to delegate responsibilities to others. But I share a different view on this. Even though I put it the way they put it, I want to remind you that we do not delegate responsibilities in my view, we delegate work. When you delegate work to somebody, it presupposes that when the work has been done poorly, you, the person who delegated, you are the one responsible. Yes, that person certainly takes some of the blame, but ultimate responsibility lies with the one who did the delegation. That is the reason why we must train and equip people well before we give them work to do. So delegation is important, but it does not absolve you from the responsibilities. We don't see a lot of this in our part of the world. The person who delegated to someone who has done a poor job rather will be on your case. The question to ask is that, was the person well equipped? What went wrong then? That should be the posture of bosses when you delegate to work. It also presupposes then that we must ensure that people are well equipped. That people are well equipped to do their work. Yet not push work to people without the requisite skills. Limit your weekly working hours. I'm not saying that you should limit your weekly working hours as in the work that you do. But work comes in so many forms and shades. If you are doing 7.5 hours a week, a day, and you end up doing work on social media, i.e. spending time on social media, not using your time well, it will catch up with you. So when you're on a program like this, manage your time well. Limit your weekly working hours by being mindful of how you use your time. You cannot be attending all the programs under the sun. These days, COVID has made it so anyway. So you are restrained, but there are some that will attend every party, every funeral, near or far. They will do that. When you do that, you are not limiting your weekly working hours. In short, use your hours judiciously. Schedule time for leisure and exercise, and take a course in time management skills. In short, manage your time well. When you do these things, you are able to manage your time well. You are able to minimize the impact of your type A on your overall well-being. But we are being encouraged to move more towards type B, who work hard but they know when to stop. The last point says that the problem is, if it's your personality, can it be re-engineered easily? The answer is no. If you have been type A all your life, you must take real steps to be able to move more towards type B. But I do believe that with knowledge and awareness, we can slow down. We can begin talking to ourselves to learn to slow down rather than pressing on non-stop and not taking a break. So this would be a nice place to pause, and I'll take one or two comments and we'll bring the class to a close. So if there's any comment or question, do we have any type A person in the class? Let's see by hand who is a type A person here. Do we have one? Yes, I see some hands, one hand up. I see another one. So please, let's take the advice. I see more hands coming. Yes, so yeah. So we have a lot of hands. So please, as I've kept on saying in these lectures I'll be having, let's use the knowledge to our benefits. I'm not suggesting you should not work hard, but be balanced. Be balanced. Be balanced. If you're in this class, you're a manager, there's always going to be pressure to deliver. Work hard, but be balanced. Don't run yourself down to death. And by the way, you also will find out that when it comes to stress, somehow, I don't know why, but somehow the women manage it better than the men. Somehow the women manage it better than the men. Check the heart attacks that happens all around. Normally, the men, unfortunately, they pay the brunt of it, or they bear the brunt of it. So the women are able to cope with stress much better than men. I think that perhaps women are much more likely to share and to talk about things with other people. Most men do not do that. Even your best friend will not tell you something that you should know. So most men keep things very close to their chests, and therefore it gets to them very well hard enough when it's gotten out of hand. So let's learn from some of these points and reposition and really look at our lives well, so that as we learn from this, we are also mindful when we are engaging with our subordinates, so that we don't overload them with work. Okay? Because it does cause stress. Stress is good, but when you overdo it, it can cause damage. So it's how you manage it. We will always be stressed, but we have to manage it well. All right, so any one or two questions before? If there are no questions, then we'll have to end the class for today. There's quite a lot in the slides. I'm certain that the next time we'll move on to another one, but I'll touch briefly on some 1 or 2 points before we move on. As I said to you, all the notes that I'm giving you, I've sent through to you the slides. The intention is not to go through everything. The intention is that you have the knowledge for yourself, so that you can also go through at the right time for yourself. But one thing that I always practice is that I'll only examine you on things that I've talked about in class. Okay, I'm not suggesting at all that you should make demands of other people, but other lecturers should also do the same. No, we all operate differently. So just bear that in mind, that I'll only examine you on things that we are talking about, but I refer to you that you also read on the things that I may not touch upon in class, because then you are only not gaining, going to get marks or something. It's just about getting the knowledge. So let's get it right. Let's be willing to read the things that I know for some students say that, oh, he's not going to examine us. So let me just forget about that. Let me just read the areas that we have gone through. Yes, you can do that, but you also, when you go through, you see that they feed into each other somehow. They feed into each other. And therefore, it's important that we bear that. So on that note, class, we'll have to bring the class to a close. And just as I said, I see Faustina's hand up, and I'll just take that question. I'll not take any other question after Faustina. So if you have one, then we'll have to take it next week. So Faustina, I'll take your question, and then we'll end the class for.
Sorry.
Oh, Faustina is gone. Faustina, your line is not clear at all. We couldn't hear a word. I don't think anybody heard anything. So unfortunately, we can't assist because I'm certain that it may be coming from your end. So Faustina, you may have to reserve your question. On that note, if there's someone who certainly want to take Faustina's place, I was going to take only one. Faustina has not come through. Ambrose Edward has been quick with it. Eddie, I will take your question and then we can end the class. So Edward, you have the floor. Ambrose Edward.
Thank you, Prof. Mine was actually not a question, but a reminder. It seems the recording went back to you. So if you can, at the end of the lecture, send it to us, because Dennis, is it Andrew, along the line went off. So you did the recording.
All right. I normally would have wished that you handle these things, but it's well noted. Okay, so we will then have to end your class. So I got a message here that connectivity has been very unstable. The lecture is really a guide to our work life and personal growth. Yes, Abigail, I do agree that. I share the thoughts. Thank you, Prof. Really enjoyed the lecture. Thanks so much. Very good. So thanks very much also for tuning in and also for really taking the advice that we gave you. Some of the ways were very, very destructive, but some of you have really behaved yourself, and that is what we need. It's good that we all help so that we can get the value that we are supposed to get for what you are paid for. My interest is that you get the knowledge as much as possible and you become better leaders and managers in your workplace. So there are interesting times ahead. You have not seen anything yet, so remain tuned to it, and I'm sure we will learn a lot. I can assure you that at the end of Organizational Behaviour course, your life will not be the same. You take the things we are talking about. So thank you very much, and we will see you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
so much, Doc. Andrews, please kindly contact Prof and then take the recording.
Thank you.
All right.